Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. In this video today, we're going to be talking about TSM. We're going to be talking about Swordart and why he is currently the best player in North America. Now, obviously, we just got done with the quarterfinals of the lock-in tournament, and just throughout the entire lock-in tournament, TSM did not look great. They had a lot of really bad games, bad losses to 100 Thieves, bad losses to Team Liquid, bad win against Golden Guardians. They obviously did get a pretty convincing win against CLG, but they look like they might be one of the worst teams in the whole tournament. Then against Cloud9, a lot of TSM fans and just people in general were excited to see that TSM actually took a game off Cloud9. Now, was that good TSM? Was that bad Cloud9? We don't know. But then obviously Cloud9 comes back with a reverse sweep, and TSM leaves that tournament. You know, they came in with high expectations, maybe being the second or third best team in the LCS, and they leave maybe feeling like the fifth or sixth best team in a lot of people's opinions, and a lot of the players on TSM did not look great. But again, right now, Swordart's the best player in North America, and we're going to be talking about why that could be a really, really good sign for TSM going forward, and just explain exactly what I'm saying here. But before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you're not already subscribed, definitely click that subscribe button really quick. It's fast, it's free, it's easy, helps you guys stay up to date on all my latest content, and I would appreciate it a ton. We're getting closer and closer to 6,200 subscribers, so hey, you know, you could really help us out there. You can do your part, help us run those numbers up. It doesn't really mean much. The numbers are just numbers, but it's kind of cool. It makes me, you know, feel good when we see that stuff running up. Also, dropping a like on this video if you do enjoy it. If you do enjoy my content or just want to help support my channel, helps me out a ton of the YouTube algorithm. With that being said, let's just talk about exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure you guys have seen it everywhere. Right now, this is the North American ladder. This is on op.gg, and we see at the top, Swordart 77777. So that's what I was talking about. Obviously, if you've been watching the lock-in tournament, you know that Swordart, most people would not say has been the best player in North America so far. There's a ton of good players on good teams. CoreJJ is my pick for the MVP right now, but man, Alfari's looked good. Impact has looked good. Jizuke has looked pretty solid. A lot of the players on 100 Thieves have looked good too. I mean, there's a ton of insane players right now. But I mean, it's hard to really not pick anyone on Team Liquid so far. Cloud9 perks have maybe been a little bit more disappointing, but there's a ton of good players. But again, when you look at the solo queue ladder, I think this is a promising sign for TSM, a promising sign for Swordart. Not only the fact that, oh hey, Swordart's pretty good at League of Legends. Okay, we knew that. We knew he was going to come over here and be pretty solid. And honestly, I do think he's been pretty solid for TSM so far. Has he maybe been like the CoreJJ type of just person who can come in and affect the games in that type of way instantly with TSM? Maybe like CoreJJ was able to do with TL? No, I mean, they are different style players. They are different caliber of players anyway. I think a lot of people would say that, you know, CoreJJ is just better at this point in his career than Swordart. But Swordart can have that type of impact. And so far, he has been pretty decent for TSM. But the bigger thing is that anytime an import comes over, especially one getting as big of a paycheck as Swordart, you know, we've seen it in the past where sometimes people get paid and they start chilling because, one, that is just human nature to, you know, get comfortable at some point. At some point, you are a young guy with no money, with no accolades. You have the whole world to prove. You have yourself to prove, and you're super, super hungry, you're super competitive, and you just strive to be better and better every single day. But you see it all over the place. Once people get to the top, once people, you know, start finding success in their careers, once they start getting paid, it becomes harder because you're not that young, hungry person anymore. But to me, it is a very, very promising sign that Swordart has come over here and not only dominated in solo queue. Obviously, he has an insane win rate. We see, what, 63% win rate with 79% win rate on Maokai, 65 on Pantheon. I mean, he's been insane so far, but also the fact that he's putting in those games, especially early in the season, where this is the time where you have a lot of time to play solo queue and stuff, but also the game quality is not so great at the beginning of the season. A lot of people are complaining and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of problems and issues with it all, but he has come over motivated, and he is really, really grinding solo queue. And again, I think that's a good sign that he is hopefully not just coming over here and collecting checks. He still has that desire to get better and to prove himself to not only become the best player in North America, as he has been able to do in solo queue so far, but continue to learn the new champions. Like we see, he has a ton of games on Rel there, but also just keep his mechanics fresh and good, and just hopefully keep getting better and better and better. And I know he obviously needs to play a lot of games to duo with Lost to kind of get their synergy up, but also to help Lost improve and stuff. But also just on a personal level, you know, it shows me that he is pretty focused and motivated. Because again, you're a multi-millionaire in Los Angeles. Obviously, Corona helps out a little bit. There's not as much to do, but he has a lot of options to do. And, you know, they already scrim however many hours a day, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Then to have the time and desire to still go and play more League of Legends, to play more solo queue, to continue to get better and grind in and day out, is a really, really good sign. And again, I think it's part of the reason why he has been one of the better performing members on TSM so far this season, where like the TSM of last year, they didn't always have everyone grinding. I believe people were were saying that Biofrost maybe dropped down to Diamond at one point during the season, especially after he got benched. I know Doublelift never really played a lot of solo queue, and obviously it affects certain players differently. Like, Doublelift was always able to be very, very successful without playing much solo queue, but he never really achieved those heights internationally either. So maybe if he would have played more solo queue, he would have been worse, but maybe he would have been better as well. You never really know. Also, I do think it is really promising that so far early on in the season we have a lot of other professional players towards the top. Obviously, we see Closer here. We see Sven is always a solo queue grinder. We have Revenge also in the top 10. A good sign that a lot of these people early on are making this competitive, because again, if we want to improve the North American environment, we need our solo queue to be competitive and good. Like, I know that's a big difference that we have between like Europe and Korea and stuff, that the NA solo queue, especially as the season goes on, usually starts to become a joke. But I did want to take a look at Swordart's account, because again, I think this is really, really impressive. As you can see, he's been playing a ton of Rel recently, and it hasn't been going so great for him, but obviously he's determined to figure out this champion, because we have seen some other Rel picks so far in the LCS and around the world where Rel can be pretty successful. Who knows if it's just that people don't know exactly how to play around her or anything yet, because I don't believe her win rates are that great in solo queue, but we've seen her be strong in competitive play, and obviously we assume she's going to get buffs at some point. And at some point this season, she will be one of the strongest supports. I mean, that's just how it goes with new champions. Eventually, they're able to get in. But really, what really stands out to me here is his Alistar. We've seen it in the LCS so far. It is absolutely disgusting. 82% win rate in solo queue. His Pantheon, obviously, very, very good. But his Maokai as well. This Maokai support, 79% win rate. I mean, we saw that. I can't remember which game he played the Maokai in, but he looked amazing on it. And then it has since been drawing bans against TSM for the most part, because he's looked so good on it, and I think that really can help the team. I mean, he did like the second most damage on the team as the Maokai support. It's an insane, obviously, engage tool with the W, with click on CC, with the ultimate taking up so much room, but also just how annoying you can be with the saplings and just how much damage this pick can really dish out. It really adds another level of threat to TSM, so he can play these engage supports, he can play these damage style supports. Maybe there's still some picks he needs to work on a little bit, like the set win rate isn't great, the Rel, and these are champions that are probably going to be strong in the meta throughout the year. But again, if the guy's putting in this much work, and also when we take a look at the ladder, again, he's at 1200 LP and Closer's at 1061, so I mean, he has a sizable advantage over anyone else. This is between other professional players, between solo queue grinders who are playing more hours than some of the professional players and stuff. I don't want to read too much into solo queue. Obviously, Sven is always a guy who's been an insane grinder of solo queue, puts up insane stats, and he's been pretty solid in his time in North America. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to make it to Worlds yet on a North American team. So maybe that's partly his fault. I mean, it has been partly his fault in some of these teams, but also sometimes it's his team letting him down and stuff. So it only means so much. But again, I would much rather see this than Swordart coming in and being like master tier right now or something, because he's good enough to be at least top 50 challenger or whatever. Sometimes just how the games break out, there can only be one guy at the top of the ladder. But I do think this is a good thing. I hope it inspires other professional players to keep grinding, to keep playing, and to make the top of the ladder competitive. So overall, I think that will be a really, really good sign for the whole region. I also hope it motivates TSM, that he shows them, that he's setting an example for them, that, hey, guys, I'm, the most accomplished player on this roster. I am the richest player on this roster, and look at me. I'm still coming in every day, every night, putting the work in, going to scrims, playing my solo queue, and I want us to be good. I want us to all be great, and I want us to continue to develop over the course of the season. And if a player like Lost, a player like Spica can look at a guy like that and see what he's doing, hopefully he can be motivated and learn from them and want to be better. Because obviously at this point in the season, TSM has a lot of stuff to work on, and there is a lot of pressure on them. People always say that being a member of TSM comes with a crazy fan base and crazy pressure and crazy expectations, but I feel like the expectation stuff have lowered a little bit this year. Bjergsen's not here anymore. Doublelift's not here anymore. This TSM team isn't supposed to necessarily, go to Worlds and go get out of groups or whatever. I mean, at this point, I think this season a lot of people would just be happy if TSM made it to Worlds. Especially with the last couple of seasons where they weren't even making it, and then last season going 0-6, the expectations are at an all-time low for TSM. So, I mean, it is a chance for them to kind of take a deep breath, to catch their breath, and hopefully just have a good year where they develop over the course of the season. I mean, if we look at the games so far for Swordart, I wasn't really impressed with this first game against 100 Thieves where he went 0-2-0 on Leona. I thought overall it was a pretty passive game where not much happened. This Golden Guardians game, I think he honestly was one of the big reasons TSM was able to come back and win on this Alistar. The 0-4-3 scoreline doesn't really show it, but he had some really, really massive big plays in this game. The CLG game, I believe, is the Malachi game. Yeah, he's 0-2-9. I think he did the second most damage on the team, which was crazy. We also got to see a huge pop-off game from Spica here. I think Spica and Swordart have for sure been the two standout players for TSM, and obviously it's kind of the two guys they're building towards for the future. A 0-4-2 on Leona. They haven't really been able to figure out the Leona too much yet, but he is really good at that pick. And then this Galio game was super, super good with the 2-4-11. But then obviously the later games, Cloud9 kind of started to stomp him a little bit. 0-5-1 on the Thresh. And then finally 0-3-5 on the Bard, which was kind of a random pick in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of other people. Kind of didn't really make sense in that draft. But I mean, again, when your whole team isn't looking very good, there's only so much you can do. So especially when Lost has kind of really had a very, very slow start to the season, it is hard for the support to do too much when your AD carry is kind of getting bodied in lane, bodied in team fights. So I think if Lost is able to develop over the course of the season, maybe they sub in Cody Sun, whatever, if they can get some stability in the AD carry position, I think it will really start to enable Swordart more and more and more, and we will really see him start to shine. Because yes, Core JJ is a guy who's been able to come over and be insane with Team Liquid right off the bat, but he's played with Doublelift and then got to transition into Tactical, and in that one split where Doublelift was doing really, really bad, Core JJ kind of had a quieter split as well. So, you know, your team does affect things. Your AD carry does affect things. And right now, Lost is really not looking too hot. Yes, it is early on in the season. Yes, he's a young, inexperienced player. But also at some point, you got to step up and start showing some promise and talent. Because just because you're a young player doesn't mean you're automatically going to develop. Doesn't mean you automatically deserve a spot. It's not like you don't go young just for the sake of going young. You go young to give time and experience to players that show promise and show signs of talent, which Lost, you know, has done. He was very, very good in Academy, but so far we've not really seen it in the LCS when TSM kind of has this pretty talented team around him. So we'll see how that goes. But again, I think it is a good sign. TSM right now has the best player in North America. Swordart has cemented himself at the top of solo queue, and that only means so much. But I think it's a lot better sign than, you know, him not dominating in solo queue. But that is pretty much everybody's video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. Again, it helps me out so much with the YouTube algorithm. I would appreciate it a ton. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you think Swordart grinding solo queue doesn't matter at all? Do you think it's a good sign? Do you think he's a beast? Do you think TSM is going to continue to get better and better as the year goes on? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to update on my latest content. Let's hit 7K as soon as we can, boys. Let's just do it. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!